Hi, if you're watching this, I linked this on the Steam Workshop page for one or possibly all six, oh gosh, excuse me, of the modular team on MTM mechs. I'm probably going to mess up the pronunciation because I'm still recovering from jaw surgery, but anyways, the MTM mech series is, other than being at threshold, my pronunciation is a series of mechs that I've released in a 5-piece set, plus this bonus piece. There's 5 classes currently: a Meleer, a CQCer, a harasser, a sniper, and a support. And support, I'm a little... I'm not sure if it'll work out in concept. Hasn't had proper testing, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But Love and Care went into all of these, and they all have a unique color. But if you're looking at this, then you're probably looking into customizing one of these for yourselves. Now, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to warn this, because this is one of the things you could really screw up if you don't know how the machine works. So I'm going to just get right to it. An overview of the features you can have: you can attach or detach various plates of little decorative armor. They do have a slight stat boost, but they also weigh a bit in mass, so keep that in mind. These are all color-coded in cyan, though. So if you see cyan couplers, they are almost certainly, with the exception of this headpiece here, related to putting on armor plates. So, in addition to that, there's another major change you can make. Okay, there's 2 more, I lied. But the first is you can swap out the ground mech where it locks in exchange for a higher speed air mech control system, which I'll show you in a minute. But you can also change out the head from a cockpit to a robot head, because some people like robots and not pilots. I'm a pilot guy, but I recognize the difference in style. So as you see here, we took this coupler, these 2 couplers. This is obviously the pilot guy if you look at the colors, and this is obviously the cockpit window. These 2 are for the cockpit mode. You want to paint these 7500 to enable them, or any other color. In my case, I just lazily pushed D to change it to 7611, which makes it invalid, and I painted this to be 7500 to enable it. This is the other cyan coupler, of course. This gives it a robot head. And I personally think the robot head looks much better with armor plates, so let's go ahead and do some armor plates for an example. We're going to just take, actually, first things first, push tab. Right, these front legs are the air mech legs. These back legs are the ground mech legs. There's not only any way to distinguish between them, and these leg plates are unfortunately the ugly part of the plates, because the legs are the only parts that swapped out. So, well, I could have just made 2 sets of plates. I didn't, and you're going to have to hate me for it. So the science of it is, you take the color of the one that isn't flashing off this coupler with the middle mouse key, and you click it on the armor plate. It shows a link between the 2. And if it's the other way around, it should show a link between the one that isn't enabled and the plate. That means it's off. I know, it's very weird to check. You see this whole leg plate here? So that succeeded. We're going to repeat this process with all the other armor plates. This is a sort of a lower pelvis plate. We have a very small chest plate here. We have shoulder plates, like so. You can see he has the little chest plate and the shoulder plates. And in my opinion, he looks like a much more robot-y sort of guy. It's probably because the robot has like a bit of a helmet deal going on. I don't know, let's try eliminating this section. Whoops, I just screwed up. Don't do that. And yeah, I guess this guy would look better without armor, without his helmet on. So you can actually disable the helmet with that. But like I said, these give very slight stat density in exchange for weight. I'm not really sure if it's worth it one way or the other, but it won't make that much of a difference either way. So, I mean, if you're looking to wring a few points out of it, there's better places to look. Speaking of which, the speed limit. The speed limit is at 500. This goes about 250 to 300 for a ground mech, or no, actually I think it's about 250 for a ground mech and about 300 for an air mech, plus dash modes. Dash modes don't affect the speed. The speed limit's only this high because this is intentionally limiting the mech's HP value, so it's intentionally weak and hence better and encourages team play. If you don't want time for that crap, set it for 250 for a ground mech, 300 for an air mech. Let's talk about setting it to ground mech versus air mech. There are 2 sections of components. And this is another thing I'm kind of, it's a little ugly, but the concept is working. You have the sled suspension here. As you can see, these are sleds. And there's 2 different styles for ground mech and air mech. and there's these little isolated sleds on a flash because they should never be enabled. But we want to do is we want to use middle mouse to copy the input off of these. So right now we have ground mech because this is on the side of ground mech parts. So let's go and say we're going to change over to an air mech. We're going to copy this air mech sled indicated on the right side here. We're going to paste this over all the sled's inputs, right? And with that, we can define that these sleds will keep loose so you can be a little more fluid in your playstyle, and you can look dynamically and have the legs follow the torso at all points, at any point in time. So that's important for how the mech controls. Now, very similar deal going on here. If you look at the color of these couplers, not all of them are exposed, but most of them are. You see that there's 1, 2, 2. 0 is the green. Oh yeah, it's 1, 0, 2. My bad. 0 green means you're winning. Push D. That's the disabling color. 2, 1, 3. The reasons I have this stuff in video references, so it's anything to go back to at any point in time. If you do ever forget this, please do that. Whoops. And see, we just made number one mistake. This is something I wish I'd done better. In fact, I'm probably going to move this out of the way after I'm done with this tutorial so you don't make the same mistake. But this is the only part that's moving, I swear. Basically, this should never be disabled. This is the up-down jump/stomp jets. These are universal to both ground mechs and air mechs and should not be turned off under any circumstances unless you don't want to jump/stomp. But I cannot think of any reason you would want that. It's not really weighing you down by any means. This entire unit here probably weighs all of about 2.2 mass. It's basically nothing. So yeah. Anyways, now we've done that, we've disabled all these pieces. As you can see, we're going to take the disabled color over here. We're going to enable this. And with this enabled, we now have our new style stuff. We have our jetpack, we have our strafing instead of turning, and we have our enhanced forward/backward power. You can just see the difference in power, of course. And we have the airmech style gyro box. This keeps the gyros on so the legs will always align to the torso. And it has a bonus override, so center legs or gyro lock become float or float lock. You'll have to rename them as yourself, just like I recommend you rename turn left and turn right to strafe left and strafe right as a friendly reminder. And I do hope you made a copy. I didn't because I'm a hypocrite. But you should make a copy in case you want to make more and have more variants you've made yourself. Or if in case you mess something up, because that is totally possible, and I realize this process is not super intuitive to newbies. But I'm hoping to clear that up a lot with the tutorial here. Now let's talk about the weapons in case you want to tweak the weapons. This is basically the last thing you need to be able to tweak, practically speaking. I mean, most of the turn rates and everything are really snappy, so you shouldn't have any problem. Oops, I already made a mistake. First things first. We're going to change these 4 legs to be enabled, so they are air mech legs. We're going to take this, we're going to go from 100, 0, 0 to 100, 1, 1, 1. We're going to paint the back legs. Now that I've done that, however, we should also repaint the armor. At least on the little legs here, and I have screwed up yet again. Right, there we go. And take that. And now we have air mech legs. You can't really see by the difference, but notice how there is no hinge inside of here, unlike the back legs. That's because the air mech legs move in a totally different fashion, which you can also check the inputs on the hips. If the hips are super simple, it's an air mech. If not, it's a ground mech. You can see here we have the legs following the body pretty fluidly. It gets a little snag on the uneven terrain sometimes, but in combat conditions it shouldn't be too much of an issue. We can push left shift and right shift to turn on float mode, as you can see, and we'll just float. We'll fall a little bit apparently. Oh wow, right, we added all this armor on, so we're not floating so well. That's a trade-off right there. You can adjust the AGDs or probably just add a 6 one if you want, but the weight is pretty precise, and it weighs about 500 at most points in time. Now, the piloting is something else entirely. You can look at the basic controls. They're very, very simple. There's literally 1 page of controls. Most of my mechs have 2 or 3, so this is, trust me, this is simple. You'll notice that we now have strafe with no animation, because 8 max event inputs. Bringing it up with G2 crew, not me. We have a shoulder gun, chest gun, and 2 arm guns, as you can see. So when it comes to customizing the weapons, we have the left gun over here on the bot's left side next to the left shoulder. we have the right gun next to the right shoulder. We have the shoulder gun all the way back here. You can tell because it's pointed upwards and has its own laser as well. And we have the chest guns right here. These are calibrated to +1 rotation offset X, so they aim a little upwards, so they count for drop and things like that. By default, these are 3 units, but you can probably drag this back another 100 units to -201 Z, or 200 if you're just that lazy, you don't mind the flickering. And that will allow you to integrate a tank gun into the chest where you previously could not, but I hold no guarantee that that will not conflict with the shoulder gun, so you might have to realign the shoulder gun by 50 units. That's complex stuff. Don't mess with that if you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Don't know what I'm talking about. You can just change the inputs on these guns. 3 barrels, 2 cannons. These could be machine guns, they could be tank guns. If you dumbing out the barrels, or you just cut them off, I recommend dumbing though, it would become mortars, so you can do a lot of things with it. It really just depends on the inputs, forward versus backward input. Make sure that the left gun's vents are L gun, the right gun's vents are R gun. The fire vent for the shoulder cannon is fire shoal, or fire shoulder. The chest cannons are chest gun, and that's really all there really is to it. And the last thing, of course, the color. The color is very iconic for all these bots. I think currently every rainbow, of the 6 colors of the rainbow, are currently about taken by the default mix. You can just use the same color over again. No one's going to murder you over it. But with the custom variant, if you code it blue, people will probably be all the more aware it's a custom variant. So there's 5 things you need to recolor. No, 6. My bad. 6. You want to recolor the core if you want to make it blue. I'm not going to recolor this because I will forget this color and I just know it. Instead of the lime core, you would have a blue core. Anyways, you would have sort of a blue laser sight for left gun, right gun, shoulder gun. You could recolor that for the shoulder to differentiate between the lasers a bit more, but it's not really that necessary. I found, surprisingly, I generally do that in most of my mechs, like green arm lasers, red back lasers, but nah. This is the eyepiece for the robot, so you want to recolor this. This is the visor for the pilot. Do not recolor this. Notice how it's more yellow, more of an olive drab, and less lime green by default. Pay attention to that. And you use 2 pieces of glass. You recolor this block and recolor this star, which is the part that's being, shoved into this black block, so it connects to the piston. And you're going to recolor that, and you mess with the arm and all the other things, so you can have fun. If you want to look at more ways you can modify the platform, you can, of course, look at any of the 5 examples I've released to the workshop and see what I did there. It might take a bit of back and forth checking to figure out what's going on if you're not like super machine savvy, and you might just not be able to figure it out. I build mazes of robots, it is no secret. But anyways, for now, thanks for checking this out. I hope you enjoy it, and, happy hunting.